This month we're going to be exploring a disused railway line. I have one of my own in my back garden which I've dug up, but that's not the one we're going to look at today. And there won't be any rolling stock on this disused railway line. They took up all the track, but then so did I. It's in our village though, so it's not somewhere we're not allowed to wander. In fact, since the restrictions were lifted slightly, we're finding it difficult to even go down a country lane or along a footpath without meeting too many people. So we're getting a bit overcrowded just in this little village. But have a look round, and we'll also take you back to VE Day. The disused railway line runs down the side of the village alongside this main road. They run parallel to each other. So we tend to walk down one way and back the other. And on VE Day, as we walked down the main road, everybody was outside their houses. This is the nearest thing to a street party. You probably saw one in your own area. And one of the neighbours actually brought the music out from the wartime era. Like many others, the railway was closed in the 60s, but here's a map from the era before that, and it shows the section of line that you can still walk on. So as you walk along the path, there are fields on the left, and as I said, we're on the edge of the village, so you can see the housing on the right. You have to come off the footpath when you reach Bennett's Lane, because the next section of railway has been built on as a cul-de-sac with some executive houses. And from then on, the railway used to run through the fields, and you can still see the line of trees where that was until it reaches the main road into Chester. Now that is the point where the railway station used to be. It's more or less on the border between Lower Kinnerton and Higher Kinnerton. So it comes over here where the overhead wires are, and it lands on the other side, and this bit you can walk on. There used to be quite a few bridges where this railway crossed the road, but they've all been taken down now. And where the station used to be, there's just fields and farm animals, and this is a really nice walk. Used to be a double track line, so it's a fairly wide path that you get to walk on, certainly for the first mile or so. Lots of wildlife to watch out for. And then gradually, as you get towards Bretton, the line heads into Saltney, where it joins the main North Wales coastline. But this path gets narrower and narrower until you get to a point where it's so narrow you couldn't pass anyone. And of course, that's no good in social distancing. You need to be able to stand aside. So then you work your way back. You have done a couple of miles by this time, and you keep your ears open for some interesting noises like cuckoos and woodpeckers. Well, since I've dug all this up, we've got a lot of work to do. Still full of holes and weeds and stones and everything else. But I've got some gravel to go over the top. I've just got to get it level first. But this isn't the worst nightmare we've had recently. I don't normally do hotel reviews, but the worst hotel I've stayed in 50 years was just before lockdown and not too far from here. I'm not even going to tell you the name of the hotel. I don't want to shame them, but we saw the pictures online of what the bedrooms should have been like, and they weren't. Now I want you to bear in mind that my camera tries to make the best of the light it's given, so even in this completely dark room with no daylight and no windows, it manages to see something. There was a very dim light on the ceiling, a sort of round bowl light that you'd normally find in a bathroom. The camera gives you an enhanced view of what that really was like. There wasn't much light coming out of it at all. I'm going to let you hear my own commentary from that night and what I actually said on camera. Dim and not very white, and a chance to get a bit more light so that you can see when you're making tea. Yes, it's a strip light. Exactly what you need in a bedroom. Let's turn that one on. Oh, and there we go. Now we can see what we're doing. But the light is of a horrible quality. Strip lights are dreadful. They've been abandoned in just about every property that I know of. So what did we do? We didn't have any of these lights, so let's turn it off. The only light that we found tolerable, there it is,
It lights the room. You can just about see what you're doing, and it entertains you as well. When you can't see the room very clearly, you can't see what a bad state it's in, which is a good thing. And here's another one of the lighting features. It's a bedside light, and here it is. Sum total of pictures in the room, a few postage stamp sized things, not exactly well lined up. Surface of the desk bows badly in the middle. Perhaps somebody's been sleeping on it. This is how it lines up with the bottom of the mirror. Well, the ceiling line seems to be parallel with the light, so one must assume that the mirror is out and the desk is definitely bent. The bathroom is a bit brighter. It's the saving grace in many ways. Has a reasonably modern mixer shower. We've got a droopy shower head on a riser. Couldn't get this to stay in one position, so the best thing to do with it is to take it off and hold it in your hand. Nowhere to put your soap either. You've got two hands in use, one holding the shower head, one holding the soap. Well, I reckon this is a reasonably recent bathroom suite, perhaps in the last 20 years, whereas the rest of the hotel seems to date back about 50 years. At least it has a reasonably modern tap. And the bathroom has a window, natural light coming in, so you know when it's actually daylight outside. It also has a radiator. Of course, it doesn't work, so we're here in the winter and it's absolutely freezing. Looking back on these pictures from a couple of months ago, I still get depressed just looking at it. And I can't help thinking, why did we do that? And I remember now, it was because although it was more expensive than your typical travel lodge, we thought we'd give a private hotel some of our money instead of giving money to big chains. This is the light above the bathroom mirror. It's a couple of roll plugs in the wall. It creates a great impression as you walk in the room, and there's this dull, dingy room that you haven't seen since the 70s, and there's no natural light. It was a horrible, depressing feeling. On a cheerier note, we've been told to get out in the fresh air and sunshine. The sunshine gives you vitamin D. And doctors have said that you have a 70% less chance of getting this COVID-19 if you're getting more vitamin D. So let's do that. Let's stay out in the fields and listen to the woodpecker.